Welcome back to Movie Recaps. Today I will show you a biography. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Leap through the city. When waiting in traffic gets too boring, Driss breaks the not caring about traffic signs. This causes the police to go after him. Driving under a bridge, the cops catch up by ambushing them from both sides. €100 that he can get them an escort. The cops make him leave the car and he starts acting he was taking him to the hospital. The officers find proof of this when they find the wheelsing, which is also an act. Seeing as it's an emergency, the cops forget on his way to the hospital. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss plays September's Nation. He shares a smoke with Philippe as soon as the cops are gone. Driss promised to find them. This friendship began many months ago. Philippe and his but it isn't going too well, because all applicants have very standard or awkwardized when Driss storms in, ignoring the fact it isn't his turn quite yet, because of the unemployment benefits. He's blunt and a little rude, even hitting on Magali next day for his signed papers. Driss goes back to his home in a humble neighborhood, only managing to get it done in time thanks to his sister Mina, who is a bit older than the other. He looks through the window and notices his brother Adama getting out of a suspicious car at school and leaves again after grabbing his bag, causing Driss to be even more sure that he gives him a Fabergé egg he stole and tells her he's been away on vacation when she asked for 6 months and never called, and now he's shown up out of nowhere as if her home was a hotel. Has other children she has to take care of. She kicks him out and tells him not to come back. Neighborhood friends. The next day, Driss goes back to Philippe's house for his pay him around the place and tells him about Philippe's daily routine. She also shows him the room. He can't help staring at the bathtub before he's dragged to see Philippe, who offers the signed sheet a 1-month trial, and Philippe tells him he bets he won't last 2 weeks. After Philippe, he must learn how to keep his legs stimulated, how to put him in the wheelchair. Awkward when Driss discovers he must put on him some high stockings and even clean his butt after and says he won't do those chores. He ends up accepting them as part of his job. He's interrupted by Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien, who are looking to share his beer. Driss quickly gets used to the daily routine with Philippe, handing the phone to Philippe instead of putting it on his ear or forgetting the baby monitor while having folders, most of the letters he opens for Philippe, but there's a series of private female escorts. He decides to start a file just for those instead of throwing them in the knife though. Driss still makes sure to have a good time. He keeps trying to hit on Magali One morning, after Yvonne comes to his room to scold him for being late, Driss' work today is to drive Philippe around, but he refuses to put him takes him on one of the fancy cars that don't see much use. Philippe, who first getting excited at the idea of a faster, less boring ride, although Yvonne's still neighbor parked at their entrance, ignoring the sign on the door that says it's forbidden. Front of his shirt and threatening him until he moves the car. Philippe is impressed by it. The pair goes to a museum, where Philippe is planning to buy a piece of artwork campus. Afterward, Philippe meets with a relative of his, who tells him also discovered he has a criminal record, but Philippe doesn't care. He appreciates Driss. After another failed attempt at hitting on Magali, Driss has dinner with Yvonne in the claiming it's a private conversation. Yvonne turns off the baby monitor and proceeds to call Eleanor. Those are the letters he didn't let Driss open. But he's never met. Speaking of love, Driss teases Yvonne for the looks the gardener gives her. Hear some weird sounds coming from the baby monitor. Philippe is having trouble breathing. He goes to his room and gently guides him through the attack with soothing words and a wet cloth to wipe. Wake up again moments later, saying he needs air. This time Driss doesn't hesitate and takes him out for a stroll by the river. This is the first time Philippe has seen. He explains to Driss that the medicine can only do so much and he sometimes experiences. Philippe also confesses he isn't capable of pleasuring a woman because of his situation. Massaged because they are sensitive zones. When the phantom pain threatens to appear critical at first but ends up loving it. Afterward, they go to a restaurant. Hear more of his story. He met his wife when they were students, and shortly after they got curable, terminal illness. That's when they adopted Elisa. Philippe, and a paraglider gave him that. It was during a paragliding session that Bat thinks his real handicap isn't the chair but living without his wife. After joking, Driss has passed his 1-month trial, so he's now officially hired. But he needs a gift from his wife. She would give him one every year, and he has exactly 25 to talk to Mina when she's leaving school, who is a bit offended because he hasn't been answering him about some cops that have been calling their home. Afterward, he visits Adama. Driss wants to take him to lunch, but Adama refuses and instead gets in the same is allowed to be present while Philippe dictates his letter for Eleanor to Magali. More direct, he's also baffled to hear that this has been going on for 6 months and they never write letters. He takes it as a sign and calls her, obliging Philippe to take the phone, and it goes so well. Philippe is now on the phone with her all the time, even right before fun of the costumes. The next day, Driss convinces Philippe to accept to her. Afterward, while he's painting, Elisa bursts into his room to ask. Getting angry, he kicks her out before going to see Philippe, who is currently asleep. She hides the picture inside the escort file right before Driss bursts in her, something Yvonne agrees with. Philippe agrees to talk to her, but he's Days continue to pass, and the friendship between Philippe and Driss continues to grow. Goes out for a run. Philippe gets him his first suit and scolds his daughter while Driss lets first painting. He shows it to Magali, who slaps him when he tries to kiss her. Try to sell it. The two of them have a great time with each other, enjoying things like Edwards together. When Philippe's birthday comes, he isn't very excited about it. Throwing a party and has to meet with all these relatives that only come to see him on the date to check he's. While he and the guests enjoy some live classical music, Driss searches for Elisa's, which won't kill her as she expected. The reason why she's sad is that Bastien the boy, which he accepts to do for a price. Meanwhile, Philippe is showing 11,000 euros. Driss goes back to the dining room and chats with Yvonne, but things are rather rocky at the moment, giving Driss hope. As the party begins, important songs in classical music history, but he could only joke in response. Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire before he starts dancing right in the middle of the floor so the party to join him and dance with him, which Philippe enjoys watching. Later, letter to him. She sent her picture, showing she's rather pretty, and is telling him if the date comes. Yvonne and Driss put Philippe through dozens of outfits until they find the perfect date. Driss uses his day off to visit Bastien and threatens him until the boy day. He also asks him to fix his hair. Afterward, he visits his mother's restaurant. Yvonne and Philippe are waiting for Eleanor, who is very late, to take him away, and then leaves the restaurant without noticing Eleanor is arriving at the in his private plane and gives him the money he got for selling the picture, making him immeasurable. And Philippe decides to go paragliding, dragging Driss with him as well. He ends up enjoying the experience. When they return home, Adama is there. Adama will still not tell Driss what's happening in his life though, so Driss goes to put Philippe to bed. Philippe, however, isn't sleepy yet about his family, which Driss at first doesn't want to talk about but eventually gives in. Aren't actually his parents, they're his aunt and uncle. They fetched him from Senegal, Karibasari, but because other kids had that name, they called him Idris, and that was able to conceive, and after his uncle died, there were other men and more kids as well. Philippe points out that Adama needs discipline, so he fires Driss so he can be there with him. The next morning, after Bastien has brought his daily croissant while wearing, Magali comes to say her goodbyes, and when Driss tries to hit on her one bread, which is short for Frédéric, turns out Magali isn't interested in men, and he gives the baby monitor back to Yvonne and teases her for having lied to him about Magali's file he had started, and he's disappointed to find the picture he had chosen is hidden there himself. Once outside, he finds a car once again blocking the entrance. When Adama calls him out for it, Driss says it's a matter of principle. At the station while back at the house, Philippe is having his first dinner together with his new caretaker without even having a bite. Since Yvonne is out on a date with the gardener, Driss goes back to his old life. He hangs out with his old friends again and tells when he goes to an interview he doesn't have enough experience for, he manages to win over knowledge he acquired while working for Philippe. This lands him a job as a driver. Constant bad mood. One night, he refuses anyone in the house to help him come over. That's how they find themselves in the situation from the beginning, with the After that little adventure, Driss drives Philippe to the coast, and the sight of the sea takes care of Philippe's overgrown beard before taking him to a restaurant for lunch, but he does. Driss wishes him luck and finally gives him back his egg before leaving, and Eleanor, who is delighted to see him and doesn't mind the chair at all. The real remarried and has 2 daughters. The real Driss, actually called Abdul Yasmin's. The 2 men continue to be very close friends to this day. More videos like this. Thanks for watching.